Hello guys, welcome back. My name's Nathan and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and picking a new captain for every single NHL team. Now, just imagine for a second that every single captain for every single team was automatically ineligible to be captain anymore, and every team had to pick a new captain for the 2021 season. That's what we're going to be doing today, so let's get straight into it. Who do I see as the new captain for every single NHL team, and who do I see as the new captain for your favorite team as well? Watch till the end for all my picks into all the new captains, and of course, hit that big red subscribe button for more content just like this one. Now, this video idea came from a lot of people in the comments down below over the past couple months, but I'm finally able to get to it. And again, today we'll be picking a new captain right now if all the captains were removed in 2020. And we're going to start out with the Anaheim Ducks and work our way to the Winnipeg Jets. And starting with Anaheim, I have Adam Henrique. Adam Henrique just makes way too much sense. Hampus Lindholm could also be a pretty good second option, but to me, Adam Henrique has so much experience, and he's not even that old anyways. He still has quite a bit of hockey left in him. Might not be a top 6 center for too much longer, but a guy who can still very much contribute, and had a pretty solid season with Anaheim last year. That's a player that has so much experience from his years in New Jersey that I think Anaheim loves to have him right now and would love to have him as their next captain. Then going on to the Arizona Coyotes, I mean, they have Oliver Ekman-Larsson as their captain right now. I think Derek Stepan makes the most sense at the moment. I would have said maybe as like an honorable mention if he didn't leave in free agency, maybe a Brad Richardson, but I think Derek Stepan is just such a big part of that leadership in Arizona. There's not too much of it, but Derek Stepan definitely brings it, even though he is definitely declining. Then on to the Boston Bruins. It's Patrice Bergeron. That's it. That's it. Now going on to the Buffalo Sabres, and a lot of people would say like Ristolainen or maybe even Rasmus Dahlin, but to me, kind of an underrated guy for a next captaincy in Buffalo, even though it's not going to happen because of Jack Eichel, is defenseman Jake McCabe. Now, he already wears an A on his jersey, and that's a player that's been in Buffalo for a very long time. Well, in Buffalo years, we'll say, and he's already had a lot of that experience there. I think Jake McCabe could be a pretty good leader, could be a pretty great captain. Obviously, it's not going to happen because of Jack Eichel, but he's not a bad second choice in my opinion. Then going on to the Calgary Flames and the man himself, Matthew Tkachuk. Now, some people might say Sean Monahan, but I think Matthew Tkachuk is the most likely guy to get the captaincy after Mark Giordano. To me, Matthew Tkachuk is the Calgary Flames, and he is the true player for them. Yes, Johnny Gaudreau is the more offensive player when he's on his game, but to me, Matthew Tkachuk just symbolizes more of Calgary Flames hockey, and I just think he's more of an engaged player than Sean Monahan, and it's not really close. Sean Monahan might be a better leader, but to me, I think Matthew Tkachuk will eventually take his place as that true leader, and already is the face of Calgary Flames hockey. I think he is the up-and-coming guy for them, already is that guy, and I think being the captain would just make sense for him. Then going on to the Carolina Hurricanes, I have defenseman Jaccob Slavin. Slavin also for the Canes kind of makes too much sense. Some people might say Sebastian Aho, but to me, Slavin is one of the true leaders of that team. A lot of people say he's underrated. I think he's probably properly rated at this point, but a player that does so many little things for the Canes and in the locker room as well is such a great person to be around. Then going on to the Chicago Blackhawks. Next up, I have Duncan Keith. Now, obviously, Jonathan Toews will be the captain as long as he's in Chicago, but if he does get traded or he gets stripped of the captaincy, of course, because of this whole thing, I think Duncan Keith just makes way too much sense. Patrick Kane might be that, but I really don't see him wanting to be the captain, unlike a guy like Duncan Keith who has been there for so long and pretty much is the second captain for the Blackhawks. Then going on to the Colorado Avalanche, and this one is almost too obvious in Nathan MacKinnon. Now, I do want to give a little bit of an honorable mention to Erik Johnson, who I think could serve as that role pretty solidly. But Nathan MacKinnon is just the true leader on that team. He is the best player on that team and is the Colorado Avalanche. And it's not really a case where he's just the best player given the captain. He is a strong leader already at such a young age, and he is already such a presence to where if he is the captain, it's not much of a problem off and on the ice. Next up, going to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and to me, it would be Seth Jones. Now, if we were looking at just the future captain, and not just in 2020, I might say Pierre-Luc Dubois might be that guy, but I think it's a little bit too soon for a guy like that, and I think Seth Jones makes the most sense. Just a strong, mature character, and a guy that already leads that locker room quite well. Then going on to the Dallas Stars, my favorite team, and to me, it's Joe Pavelski. I mean, some people might say Sagan or even John Klingberg, But to me, Joe Pavelski outside Jamie Benn is the character for the Dallas Stars, is the leader for them in that locker room. And you could see that during the playoffs, how influential he was and how much of a momentum boost he was, especially as he started to really get going. That's a player that has so much experience in the playoffs with the Stars, but mostly with the San Jose Sharks. And that's just a player who I think will be so good in a captain role. Then going on to the Detroit Red Wings, I'm wearing my Stadium Series jersey right now. It's Dylan Larkin. I mean, maybe Anthony Mantha, but Dylan Larkin has to be the guy. Has to be the guy. It needs to happen. Then going on to the Edmonton Oilers, if Connor McDavid, of course, were not the captain, to me, it would probably be Leon Draisaitl. And I don't think this, just like Nathan MacKinnon, I don't think this is a case of just the best player next up getting the captaincy. To me, when I watch Leon Draisaitl, I do, especially this past season, I saw a lot of great leadership, especially when he was on the line with Kreider and Yamamoto, really doing a lot of great work there on the bench, and is really just a talkative guy. He really gets the job done, though, and obviously would be the next best player outside Connor McDavid. I could see maybe Darnell Nurse as another guy, but I think Leon just makes too much sense. Then going on to the Florida Panthers, I have Aaron Ekblad, kind of in the same situation as a Seth Jones. Some people might say Jonathan Huberdeau, but I think Aaron Ekblad is the true leader, or one of the true leaders on that team, maybe outside a guy like a Keith Yandel. But to me, he's already such a mature guy at such a young age, and I think he could definitely lead a team going into the future. Then going on to the LA Kings, of course, without Anze Kopitar as the captain, they probably go Drew Doughty. I mean, I really don't see too many other guys that could really fit that bill right now, at least at the moment. Maybe in the future it's a Quinton Byfield or something, but I think Drew Doughty, with how much term he's signed for, makes too much sense. Now going on to the Minnesota Wild and Ryan Suter. Of course, Mikko Koivu is gone in free agency. He's now to the Columbus Blue Jackets. To me, Suter just makes way too much sense. He's a guy that's been there for so long. Obviously, you signed that big free agent contract, but he is the true leader, I think, on the Minnesota Wild now, and a guy that already has so much experience. I think he could do some great stuff for the Minnesota Wild. Why did my computer turn off? What the heck is going on? Anyways, now going on to the Montreal Canadiens, I have Brendan Gallagher. Now, if Shea Weber, of course, were not the captain, Brendan Gallagher would be my choice. But to be honest, like, between the two, I still think Gallagher will be the better captain. Obviously, I can't say that because I'm not in the Montreal locker room the whole time. Shea Weber is an excellent captain. I think Brendan Gallagher would also be an excellent captain. He is the Montreal Canadiens. He fits their style of game so perfectly and encapsulates it so perfectly. I think that's a player that would serve amazingly as the next Habs captain. Then going on to the Nashville Predators, I have defenseman Ryan Ellis. Now, I kind of had a hard time picking what Nashville was going to do because Roman Josi just makes so much sense as the captain right now. But I think Ryan Ellis also makes a lot of sense. He's a guy that's been there in that Nashville system for a long time now and is super underrated as well as a player and as a leader. I think that would be a pretty good fit for Nashville if, of course, Roman Josi was not a thing. Then going on to the New Jersey Devils, some people might say Nico Hischier, but I'm not convinced that he's captain material yet. I think eventually he will be, but to me, when I watched New Jersey, I see captain-like material in Kyle Palmieri. To me, that's who I would go for right now, and he only has 1 year left on his deal, so I'm not sure how long-term that would be. I'm hoping for New Jersey it is long-term, but I think that's a player that just fits New Jersey so well, has been one of the biggest 10-year players on that team besides a guy like Trevor Zajac, and I think would just be a great captain on that team too. Then going on to the New York Islanders, I have Josh Bailey. He already wears the A on his shoulder, and I think that's a guy that has been in the Islanders system as well for a long time too. Some people might say Matthew Barzal, but I think that's a little bit too early, and I'm not sure if Barzal really even wants to be the captain there. Andersley is already that type, of course, but I think Josh Bailey will be a great leader, and already is in the New York Islanders. Then going on to the New York Rangers, and some people in this spot might say Mika Zibanejad, and that's perfectly fine. But to me, Chris Kreider, with that extension, I think solidified himself as the next captain for the New York Rangers. I think Chris Kreider just makes way too much sense. Again, as we said before, he's one of the biggest tenured players on the New York Rangers, and that's a player that just encapsulates their style of play as well. He is a born leader, born true guy, and is one of the few players that has left from those runs and already has so much playoff experience to boot too. Then on to the Ottawa Senators, and it's really hard for me to decide between Brady Tkachuk and Thomas Chabot, but of course now, since it's 2020, and we're just going off this year, I think Thomas Chabot makes more sense to be the captain than Brady Tkachuk. I think if they make a captain in like 3 or 4 years, maybe it's Brady Tkachuk. But I think Thomas Chabot just makes way too much sense for marketing, for that leadership. I mean, he already brings so much of it. He is more on the younger and raw side, but that's a player who I think could definitely fill in to that captain role. Then on to the Philadelphia Flyers. Of course, Claude Giroux is the captain now, but I think at the moment they will go for Sean Couturier. Sean Couturier, to me, also is another guy that makes a lot of sense. You could also go for Travis Konechny, and that would be a good fit to me. I see Konechny more as an assistant, and Couturier more as the true captain on that team, but I really don't see that as a slight to Konechny. Either one could fill that role, but I think Couturier, just like a Seth Jones, just like an Aaron Ekblad, is more on the quiet side, more on the mature side, but leads in example and leads in on-ice play, and I see that as very important to Philadelphia, as it should be. Then going on to Pittsburgh, and obviously Sidney Crosby not as the captain anymore. A lot of people would go with the obvious pick of Evgeny Malkin, but to me, it's Chris Letang. I think Chris Letang would be the next captain up after Sidney Crosby if it were to go that way this year. I think Chris Letang is just a guy that leads the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially that defense. Really doesn't have too much to work with anymore. And a lot of people would say Evgeny Malkin, and I could still see that being the captain if Sidney Crosby weren't a thing. But to me, Chris Letang might just be the true leader on that team after Crosby, and I think could definitely get that captaincy. Then on to the San Jose Sharks. This might be a little bit biased because Erik Karlsson might be a little bit more of a natural fit. But to me, Tomas Hertl would be amazing as the captain for the San Jose Sharks. When healthy, that's another player that I talked about, like Brendan Gallagher, like encapsulating the Montreal Canadiens. When the San Jose Sharks are good, Tomas Hertl is really, really good. And he is usually driving that team a lot in offensive generation and just pressure. That's a player that already has been on that San Jose team for a while. Obviously, Logan Couture is the guy right now, but I think Tomas Hertl would be a beautiful fit for the San Jose Sharks. Then going on to the St. Louis Blues, and this one is obvious in Ryan O'Reilly. There's really no other good choice. Obviously, Pietrangelo going into Vegas. They don't have a captain anymore. To me, I see Ryan O'Reilly being the next guy and being named captain for the 2021 season. Then going on to the Tampa Bay Lightning and Victor Hedman. I mean, it's gotta be Victor. It's gotta be. I would also say maybe Brayden Point, but if you're going to take the captaincy from Steven Stamkos, I think Victor Hedman just makes too much sense. Then going on to the Toronto Maple Leafs, some people here might say Austin Matthews, but to me, Morgan Rielly really makes sense as the Leafs captain. And as soon as it was leaked that Austin Matthews might not be the captain anymore, I thought, oh my gosh, you're going to give the captaincy to Morgan Rielly. That's going to be so amazing. He's been there for so long. He's such a true leader. And they give it to John Tavares. And I don't think that's a terrible thing, but I think Morgan Rielly fits that role as a captain just a little bit more. When Morgan Rielly is not on that team, that Leafs team kind of falls apart. And I feel like they definitely could use another captain in that team, and Morgan Rielly already is that, to be honest. Then going on to the Vancouver Canucks, and I was debating between Alex Edler and my choice, but I think Elias Pettersson just makes too much sense. Some people might say he's too young to get that, but to me, Elias Pettersson already is a true leader on that team. And when we talk about leading by example, I mean, he is the best player on that team, and it's not even really too close either. That's a player that already is so dominant at such a young age, and it's obvious he's learned so much already from a young age that he can teach other young players as well so much about the game. To me, Pettersson, I mean, they could wait a couple of years if they need to, but he will eventually be the captain of the Vancouver Canucks. Again, Alex Edler might be the guy, but I'm not sure how long he stays in Vancouver, to be honest. And I think Pettersson is just waiting for the inevitable to happen. Pettersson will be the Canucks captain in no time. Then going on to the Vegas Golden Knights, I have Mark Stone. And again, this might be biased because I freaking love Mark Stone and everything about him. But to me, he makes a lot of sense as the captain for Vegas. Maybe Alex Pietrangelo, but I think it's a little bit too early for that. I mean, even the Leafs waited 1 year to make John Tavares the captain. So I think Mark Stone, obviously he's not the most tenured player on that team, but he's already been there for quite a while and has been such a great leader for them already. That's a player that, again, leads by example, both on and off the ice, and is such an amazing person as well. Then going on to the Washington Capitals, and this one I was kind of debating too, because Nicholas Backstrom might be the obvious choice, but I'm going to go with TJ Oshie. I'm going to go with TJ Oshie as my pick for the Capitals, and this might surprise some people, but I think Oshie is just a true born leader, such a fantastic person as well, and a guy that absolutely leads by example. Has been in so many playoff runs with St. Louis and Washington. And again, Nicholas Backstrom might be the more obvious choice, but I think TJ Oshie is a little more of a true leader for the Washington Capitals and might be what they go for next. Obviously, Ovechkin is the guy there, but I think Oshie is a Capitals kind of captain, if that makes sense. Then going on to the Winnipeg Jets, I have Mark Scheifele. Of course, Blake Wheeler is the guy there, but Mark Scheifele is almost too obvious. A leader that is strong and both off the and on the ice stuff. Has been in Winnipeg for his entire career. It just makes too much sense, and Mark Scheifele already is a natural born leader, so I don't think it would be too much of a problem for the Winnipeg Jets. But that'll be it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, of course. Make sure you comment down below, though, what do you agree and disagree with, and who do you see as the next captain or the new captain for your favorite NHL team if it was 2020 and all the captains were erased. Make sure you share this video with your friends, get the new captains out there, and click on this card for all of my predictions and picks videos right in one playlist. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Dylan Larkin for captain. Goodbye.